Hey, what up, though? What up, though? What up, though? It is day 10, and today I'm walking into sacred tension because the story I'm about to share isn't easy. It's layered, it's disturbing, it's painful, but it's also necessary. We're not just talking about true crime, we're talking about trauma, the kind that hides behind private doors and perfect photos, the kind that lives in boys who are too scared to speak, too ashamed to cry, and too wounded to wait for someone to come and save them. Today, we're talking about the Menendez brothers. And before you close your heart or call them monsters, I want you to lean in with me because this isn't just about murder. This is about what happens when the pain of childhood gets ignored and turns into something the world calls evil, but heaven might recognize as unhealed. Killers or survivors? Let's revisit the truth behind the headlines. Today is day 10 for our prevention and awareness campaign, but before we go further, today I want to anchor this message in the word. Proverbs 31:8-9 says, open thy mouth for the dumb, plead the cause of the poor and needy. This isn't just a case file, it's a calling. Because when a child's voice is stolen by fear or abuse, we are the ones called to speak. Today, we talk about a case that makes people uncomfortable, but maybe that's the point. Erik and Lyle, two brothers from Beverly Hills, two boys who lived in mansions, wore designer clothes, and had everything money could buy except peace, except protection, except someone who asked, are you safe? On August the 20th, 1989, their parents were murdered, shot to death while watching TV. The world called it heartless, but when Erik confessed to his therapist, what came out wasn't coldness. It was a cry for the depths of survival. They said their father had abused them for years. They said their mother knew and did nothing. They said the murder wasn't a plan, it was the only way out. The courts, the courts weren't sure. One trial ended in mistrial. The second trial silenced the abuse narrative, and they were sentenced to life without parole. Here's the question I asked on day 10. If a child says they're being abused and no one listens, what happens when the pain grows teeth? What happens when survival becomes a scream? We're not here to glorify violence, but we must talk about trauma. We must talk about boys who cry out and get ignored. We must ask, would the brothers be seen differently if they were believed back then? Today, TikTok and Gen Z have taken up their story, not because they're fascinated with true crime, but because they see themselves. They see unhealed boys. They see what happens when trauma meets silence. So, day 10 is for every child who begged for help and got ignored, for every survivor who got labeled angry instead of wounded, for every Erik and every Lyle. We're not saying they were right, but we are saying maybe they were not just wrong. Call to action: watch and comment. What do you think? Were the brothers victims, murderers, or both? Visit www.d2l.org to take the Stewards of Children training. Share this video with your audience and start a conversation. What does justice with context look like? If the brothers were tried today with full trauma informed defense, do you think the outcome would be different? Say yes, society understands trauma better now. Say no, they still committed murder. Say not sure, I need to know more. They deserve a new trial. The brothers' case continues to evolve with several significant developments. The most recent, last month, back in March, Los Angeles County District Attorney Nathan Hochman withdrew a previous motion for resentencing, asserting that the brothers must fully admit to their actions before any reconsideration. The parole board review, California Governor Gavin Newsom has directed the state parole board to conduct a risk assessment regarding the potential commutation of the brothers' sentences. A parole hearing is scheduled for June 13th, 2025. I'm praying for these brothers. Family members and supporters have rallied for the brothers' release, citing their claims of enduring years of abuse. And as of just a few days ago, Lyle and Erik remain incarcerated, serving life sentences without the possibility of parole. They are awaiting their upcoming parole hearing in June, which could potentially alter their sentences based on the parole board's findings and recommendations. I've been following the brothers' story, and what I feel most is not just shock at what happened, but deep sorrow for the pain that was buried under silence. Lyle and Erik have been incarcerated since the 1990s, and yet they've been doing the hard work behind the walls. Lyle earned a degree in sociology. He helped redesign parts of the prison yard to make it less oppressive and continues to speak out about childhood trauma. Erik says if he's ever released, he wants to advocate for others who've been failed by the system, not just walk out and move on, but give back. And in that, I hear redemption. I hear healing, trying to find a home. And I feel for these men. I really do. No one's excusing the crime, but I do believe trauma matters. I believe stories matters. I believe that people can change when love, truth, and accountability meet in the same room. I'm praying for them, for restoration, for continued soul work, and for a justice system that finally learns how to protect before the pain turns violent. Because every child deserves to be safe. Every survivor deserves to be heard. And maybe every soul deserves a chance to begin again. The word tells us in Isaiah 117, relieve the oppressed, plead for the widow. It doesn't say pretend they had no pain. It doesn't say ignore their trauma. It says to do, it says learn to do well, which means we must unlearn the silence that led us here.